Hi, good evening, Abiola. How are you doing? How you are muted? Wow.
Hi, good evening, Afama. How are you doing?
No, this is not Afam actually.
Oh,
Yeah, this is Mijiba. I'm just
oh,
behind TSP community event. Yeah. So Afama will join us shortly. So sorry for the inconvenience.
oh, that's fine, actually. I think we have 1 minute left.
Yeah, sure. 1 minute. So how are you doing? Okay, good. How's your
Yeah,
weekend go?
my weekend has been okay so far. I think it's my first weekend back at home in weeks. So, yeah, it's a bit restful.
All right. Thank you for joining. We appreciate.
Thank you. Thank you, Nicola. Um, Let me know when, as soon as we can start. Hi. Hi, Adekoya. Welcome to the session.
Hi. Afoma, is that you?
Oh, no. This is Abiola. I'm Abiola.
Oh, okay, sorry. Abiola, sorry.
Hi, Koya. Good evening. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. How you doing?
I'm fine.
Hi everyone, can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can. Hi, Afoma.
Yes, apologies for joining late. I had a bit of network issues. So I think we can start now. There are people on the call. Hi Abiola, thank you so much for joining the call. So I'll just quickly introduce myself, why we're here, and then our speaker for today. So my name is Afoma Chuko Onodingene. I'm the host for this session. Today we'll be talking on Sales Foundations 101 Principles and Career Paths. So I'm the Program Associate at Tech Sales and Partnerships Community. I also work as a Business Development Manager and Project Manager. And as someone in sales myself and with almost 2 years of experience, I can tell you for sure that this webinar is going to be very interesting. And for people who are also starting building a foundation in sales, entry-level sales, I think this is something that you will need, at least to give you like a foundation to know where to start from. So for those who don't know what TSP, that is Tech Sales and Partnership Community. So we are a vibrant network of professionals in the tech sales and partnership space. We offer support, industry insights, and monthly learning sessions like this to help sales leaders like you to navigate your career and also build skills that will help you. So we started a new monthly series, Break Into Sales, because realized that, oh, there are other people who are just entering that would still need like the basic foundation on how to start, where to go, and what certain skills that they're building their sales career. And that is why this series is here. So thank you so much once again for showing up to this session. I'm so excited. And we'll be introducing our first speaker for this series, that is Abiola Giwa. Thank you, Abiola. So Abiola Giwa is a seasoned, I hope I got the name correct. So thank you. So Abiola Giwa is a seasoned professional in the global payment and fintech space with over 6 years experience driving strategic partnerships and operational excellence. She is the sales and partnerships lead Forex business at Kora Payments Technology Ltd, which is a leading fintech company driving payments across Africa. In her role, Abiola has been instrumental in driving the company's expansion across the continent, scaling the business and positioning Kora as the go-to payments provider for Forex businesses in Africa. Thank you so much, Abiola, once again for accepting to be here. And today she's going to be talking on Sales Foundations 101 Principles and Career Paths. So please stay tuned. And if you have any questions at the end of the session, please drop it in the chat box or you can raise your hand and then she would answer. So I'm passing on the mic to you, Abiola.
Thank you so much, Afoma. That was a great introduction. And good afternoon, everybody. And I hope we have had a great day so far. I'm Abiola Giwa, as Afoma has mentioned, and I will be speaking to you today about Sales Foundations 101, the principles and possible career paths. So I think let's start from the fundamentals, like what is sales? If anyone can answer, what is sales? What is sales to you? What does sales mean to you? I can tell you what sales means to me, but I think I'd like to hear from you first. Does anybody want to go? All right. So we can say sales is.
Can I go?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I think I'll have to go back to my previous slide.
Okay.
Yes, you do.
So I think for me, sales is about closing deals and bringing in clients because clients bring in the money.
Of course.
It's for me.
Yes, sales is that, but there's more to it than just bringing in deals and closing them and moving to the next deal. For me, I'd like to think of sales as a value-driven approach, right? It's a value-driven process, right, which focuses on building relationships and addressing customers' needs and providing solutions, right? And I would like to say this, like, in terms of sales, I think it's something you should have at the back of your mind, right? Particularly if you're speaking to a client or you plan to speak to a client, so to think about how you're going to add value to your client. And so sales should be like a conversational thing, right? Yes, you want to close that deal and move on to the next one. Of course, we all want to meet our targets and get to the next phase, but If you think approach is from being a value-driven approach, because I mean, someone is going to gain something, and you are also going to gain something in essence, to be fair. And so if you think about it as a value-driven approach, you're going to be adding value to someone's business or adding value to somebody. Maybe a person wants to buy something. If you think about it that way, you're able to build and foster a relationship, which now helps you end and close that deal. Now, I think I'm going to go into more of what sales is like and the concepts behind sales, which help you understand this definition better. Does anyone have any questions, or should I just proceed? Right. So I like to think of sales based on these three core principles: the know, like, trust, and then listening, and then empathy. So firstly, I think we're gonna have to do a deep dive into the know, like, trust. So this is basically like a marketing and sales principle, which says customers would be more eager to do business with you or buy from you when they know your brand, they like your brand, and in the end tend to trust your brand. And so you see quite a number of corporations spending a lot on marketing so that people know more about their brands, right? And then by knowing, they now tend to have some emotional connection with you, and then they like you, and then the trust is now built when you have like an in-person conversation with whoever you're selling to or the business you're selling to. So once you build that know part of it, which basically helps you build your pipeline, right? And of course, you would also build a pipeline, but then also make sales easier for your salesperson or for you as a person if you're the salesperson. And then you proceed. I'll say in an initial sales call, you should be more of an active listener than the speaker, right? Listening to what your client says has helped close more deals, at least from my experience, than speaking more. So I'll give you an example, right? I typically will start a sales call and say, "Oh, hi, how's your day? Where are you about in the world?" Just like icebreakers, right? And then the customer gets more comfortable and he says, "Oh, I'm here. It's sunny. It's rainy." And then you build a conversation after that. And then you now go into the actual sales, which is, "Oh, so I'm here to sell this product XYZ, and this is what we do." And the customer now says, "Oh yeah, I'm having an issue with this." And then you listen, and then from there, it's a back and forth until you then close it out. I'm not going to go so much into that. But then you also have to display empathy if you want to actually close, like if you want to get to know that person. Because sales isn't just about closing that deal, it's about fostering a relationship, which might even help you get XY more deals down the line. And if you understand these three basic core principles, I think it will help you be more successful and basically make the sales journey more easier along the line. I'm just going to stop here for a bit, and I'm going to ask if anyone has any other thing to add to this, or if you have any questions particularly. Right. Right.
Okay, so for my end, right, I will say in the listening part, sometimes when you're having a deeper conversations with your client, like from my experiences, you get to understand what exactly the client wants and kind of reposition the value, because you might be thinking, "Oh, this is what the client needs and this is the solution I would offer it." But along the line, you might find out that, "Oh, this is actually not what he needs," or I could even sell another of my services to him. But that listening and hearing and truly understanding the whole scope of the problem really helps in the sales process. So that's what I have to add.
Thank you. Thank you. Does anyone else want to add, or I think we should move on so that we keep in time? Adequate, do you have anything?
Oh, no, I was just agreeing with what Afuma said.
Yes, it was really spot on. All right. So now going into sales activities, right? What are the typical sales activities we all know? It's prospecting, then qualifying your clients before pitching to them. And then if there are any objections that come up or any questions, you can address them along the way, and then you close. Close for some people might just be signing that agreement. Close for other people might be getting to maybe turn their account to live or to complete integration and also get the customer to start transacting. It depends on the part of tech you're working, right? You could be selling, it could be solution as a service provider, or it could be and work with an e-commerce company, which sales is somewhat different, or any other form of business. I mean, sales cuts across many industries today, right? But yeah, it could also touch based on most business functions like creating demos, onboarding new clients, and actually providing support down the line and ensuring a seamless customer experience, right? So sales, yes, sales activities and processes consist of prospecting, qualifying, planning, handling objections, and closing, right? But there are other things like we've mentioned here. Now going into prospecting is prospecting you can say is like identifying your clients. What clients do I want to sell to? And then you could use tools like AI tools like some people use ChatGPT, Apollo.ai, quite a number of them out there. And then you can use to find your clients, most likely CEOs of businesses or CTOs, or maybe even lower level people who you think might be of influence to help you close that deal. And then you reach out. So by the time you do that, you qualify it. So picking those people are actually is part of prospecting and qualifying at the same time. And then you reach out, and then you can set up a meeting, and then you pitch, right? Having that conversation with them, which we just talked about, and then go through the entire sales process by closing it, might be signing an agreement, might be closing a partnership deal. It depends on what works in that particular situation. Sales is not really a one size fits all thing, so it depends on whatever product you're selling or how you want to approach it in the end. Now going into basic concepts, right? I decided to put this here, right? And I'm going to break it into sales strategies, relationship building, and partnerships development, and typical time frames you have over these processes, right? So basically, for typical sales strategies at the beginning, what does my customer need? How do I drive the sale? How do I close it? How do I find the client? How do I convince the client, right? Those are major questions that come up here. And then the outcome could increase the customer's lifetime value and lower churn rates, right? Sometimes we have so much clients in the sales funnel, but then sometimes those conversations might drop off. But then it's good to also ensure that you're well organized to ensure you reduce a lot of all these issues that come up in the sales process. And then typical timeframes you have for closing a sales deal is typically between 3 months to 6 months. Depends on how big the sale is or the deal is. Sometimes it might be a smooth process and it might just end up being less than a month or less than 2 weeks. Sometimes it's even a done deal and maybe right after the call, customer just wants it and that's the end, right? And now going into things like relationship building, engaging customers, speaking to them, finding out what works, what doesn't work. You need to build a product to tailor to their needs. It also helps you enhance customer loyalty and repeat purchases, right? It leads to higher conversion rates. And then there's also a thing called word of mouth. So that client might refer to another client, might speak to someone else who might reach out to you. And therein you build on your sales prospect list and go through the entire sales process all over again. For businesses like e-commerce businesses, it may look like launching campaigns to build like customer loyalty. So maybe like, oh, buy one, get one free. Some people have big campaigns to say, oh, maybe something sales for a particular period just to get people in and then build over time. But for like solution as a service businesses, it might be more of reaching out to your clients, finding out what they need, upselling, cross-selling, and then going down that line. Now, there are also things like going to partnerships development. You can build mutually beneficial relationships to drive innovation and growth. So, for example, you have to close a business with a big conglomerate, and of course, this probably will put your company on the map, right? These are more like bigger initiatives which might come over the line and might be handled by higher up sales execs, right? And then this basically is having conversations with different companies and coming to a deal or partnership. You probably will have to use maybe one of their softwares or whatever they are in return for them using your services. And that's more like a trade in between. And then you're building that partnership and they expand your market, which some people partner to expand to a new market. Some people partner to use the services of the other brand while they also use theirs. There are different niches that can work in this phrase. Then, so to close initial partnerships takes quite a while, usually between 6 to 12 months. And this is because of the technicalities involved. Building a project, building a product, expanding to a new market is not something that really happens just once. It takes some time. There'll be deals, NDAs, quite a number of things that go into the entire process before the final launch and then publicity that happens in partnerships development. Going into the next slide, I would like to hone back into quite a number of things you have spoken about, right, regarding sales. Focusing on your customers' needs. I think it drives quite a number of things, right? Sometimes as a salesperson, you just want it. Most of the times you think of, oh, my target, by the end of the month, I need to be here. But I think if at the beginning of that quarter or that year, you think about typically what your product does and what your clients might need, I think it might help you build like a book, your own book, or a strategy for yourself to like pace yourself and find out what your customers need to ensure that you sell effectively throughout that period. Build long-term relationship, deliver tailored solutions if there's a need to enhance user experience, right? So basically, when you speak to your clients, get feedback from them if it has to build or enhance your product. I think that helps you down the line. And then you prioritize problem-solving approaches, right? And this helps you build trust with your clients, right? I think I mentioned know, like, trust at the beginning. Building trust actually helps ease up the sales process down the line. And I think if you taking this back, it will help you grow and become more successful in your career down the line. Now, the importance of sales. Sales to organization is a revenue driver. I mean, I would like to think of sales as the heart of every organization. Sometimes they say sales people are quite cocky because of this, but I mean, without sales and without that money coming in, companies might tend to struggle over time if they don't have enough funding. So sales will generate essential revenue that sustains business operations and growth. And then sales also has a interdependence with multiple departments. Sales team collaborates with other departments like legal, product, engineering, customer success, and it helps build effectiveness and customer satisfaction. It also helps influence decisions. As a salesperson, I think you have more access to your higher level colleagues than your other counterparts in other departments. That's because a lot of decisions have to make, and that also helps you grow in your career, to be fair, right? You have more access to C-level individuals, especially in your organization and outside, and basically you're building your network over time, which might help you scale in the future. Now, going into sales myths and realities. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Right. Does anyone have anything to raise from what we've said so far? Right. So I think I'll be diving into sales myths versus realities, right? And I think this is for every new salesperson or anyone who wants to come into sales, right? There are quite a lot of myths that we need to debunk. A lot of people say, "Oh, you want to do sales? Sales, if you don't meet your targets, you're out. If you don't do this, you're out." Yes, some of these things might be true. It depends on where you're working. But then the truth is, sales is what anybody can do. And there are quite a number of myths I've identified here, which we can speak about. Number one, which I think a lot of people have heard of, is you must be extroverted to be a salesperson. Actually, I would say a lot of introverts thrive in sales. And I think a study shows that introverts do a lot more, they're more successful basically at sales than being extroverts. Yes, extroverts will feel more comfortable to speak, but there's a whole lot more in sales than just speaking and talking to your clients. There's also the part where you build that relationship. Introverts, something, of course, introverts would love to be in their house, close the doors, but not all the time. I mean, having a conversation is quite beautiful to do, right? And then there's also the part where I say it's all about pressure. No, it's not. It's about value and trust. What value can you create? What value do you bring to the table? Understand the importance of your product. Understand the importance of yourself. I mean, you're a salesperson. You're all very, very important. If you don't see yourself as that important, I think there might be an issue. I think there might be an issue, right? You are as important as that CEO you're speaking with. You are important. In short, look at yourself as the king and queen of wherever you are. I mean, and sorry. And then about that, you now try, you see, first you see the value in yourself, then you see the value in your product, and then you're able to now speak more about it and build trust with the person you're selling to, right? Um, Going into the next myth, sales is a solo job. Actually, no, it's not. It's not. You depend on everybody for sales. I mean, there are a lot of times I'm sure a lot of salespeople have like felt so upset because maybe someone in another team is delaying what they're doing or is stalling their close time to close a deal. I mean, as a salesperson, I'll tell you, I speak to everybody every day. I speak to sales, I speak to my fellow sales team members, I speak to legal, I speak to compliance, I speak to my product teams, I speak to my engineers, I speak to my customer success. In short, my customer success and me, I don't even understand. It's like we share a bond at this point, right? And then it helps you build all those relationships with all those people, to be fair, right? Because I mean, you go through the whatever it is together, closing that deal. I mean, and then it's beautiful because in essence, you're learning a lot more about what those people are doing. I mean, as a salesperson, I've learned about APIs, callbacks, endpoints, and of course, you have to speak to clients about all these things, these technical things, right? You tend to learn more about it. I mean, some things you never thought you would know. You tend to learn more about it. In short, sometimes I find myself even looking through clauses in agreements and saying, "Oh no, we can't do it this way." And I'm like, I didn't even read law in school, and I didn't go to law school. But that's just the beauty about what sales is. I mean, you get to understand, get to enjoy the fun parts of these are some of the fun parts of sales. Like, and I think over time, you might also it it helps you build your career. And I've seen a lot of people from sales, they've gone into products, or from sales, they become CEOs, CTOs, owning their own companies because they understand like the basic concepts of quite a number of things and they can now venture on their own. Right. Um, Another myth is sales is low impact. I don't want to think sales is low impact. For a lot of product-led companies, a lot of people might say this like, oh, it's about the product. Yes, but I mean, you have to sell that product to get ahead, right? Sales drives direction. I mean, sales helps you know what your next goal is. You can talk to a client today and you're like, oh, I'm expanding into Ethiopia. I'm expanding to Mozambique. And you talk to 5 more clients and they're saying, oh, they're going to that Ethiopia. And you're like, if my product doesn't go into this market, I will be leaving money on the table. And then this also helps you go back to your teams to say, okay, does anyone want to say something? It helps you go back to your team to say, oh, okay, let's look into this market. Is this somewhere we can go into? What are the prospects of it? Like, if you go into it, how much money are you going to make? It helps you understand your ROI. Helps you understand your ROI, and then it helps you proceed, basically. I think I'm done with this. Does anyone have any more myths to share with us that we can address and speak on here?
I don't think I've ever heard the myth that sales is low impact, actually, because I think everyone understands that, I mean, what drives the company or like sales and revenue is the lifeblood of every organization. So it's interesting to know that, or to realize that some people even think that sales is low impact. It's a very, very big myth. And it's nice that you are clarifying that in this call.
Yeah, Dara.
Hi, Abiola. Thank you so much for the session. And Koye, I agree with you, but you'll be very shocked, right? So I have come across people that just see sales as, is it not selling? What are you people actually doing? Is it not just to talk to people, right? It's not difficult. So it's very weird, but that people would even think that way. But you'd be shocked that even with the target, the sales targets, and the amount of effort required to close deals, some people think it's just talking to people, and that's very simple to do.
Wow.
I totally agree with that. I've heard that statement countless of times. Like, what is sales? What are people doing? It's not just to sell. That word is that phrase is not just to sell. A lot of people say that. Like, what exactly are you doing, Afoma? You're just selling now. Anybody can do your job. It's it's something to think of.
Oh, wow. I mean, I think sales people hear the darndest of things, and I mean, I'm glad we're able to debunk that today and move ahead. So I'm going to go into my next talking point, which would be sales roles. How do you begin? And then how do we navigate through? So typical entry-level sales roles we see are sales development representatives. These are people who focus on lead generation, pipeline generation, funneling the clients in. They're the first people who reach out. Some organizations structure it this way, some don't, right? And they're the first people to maybe contact whoever it is. They probably go to a database, use whatever software they use, and then generate leads for the business and do the initial touch conversation before maybe handing it over to another part of the team, most likely an account executive or a sales executive, and then it follows up the ladder. There's also the business development representatives, right? These people build the relationships. They also identify opportunities, right? And they drive business growth, right? And then we go into the account executives. These are people that actually do the closing of the deals, move it along side. Sometimes 1, 2, and 3 are actually worked into one role. So you might end up seeing like a sales executive role, which includes business development, sales development. So you'll be the one to build your own pipeline, reach out to people, do the calls, close the deal, and then bring it in. Some organizations structure it in different ways. Some have like departments, of course, that just do initial funneling, finding out the clients, and then they hand it over to the next person to close the deal. Now, there's also sales operations. Sales operations can be seen as the people who do the reports, generate the reports, do a lot of analysis, how's product working, how's it selling, are the clients closing on time. They work a lot with the data and analytics. Some also do support, right? In terms of ensuring like maybe integrations are closed out, doing the footwork of closing and signing agreements as soon as the deal is like, so as soon as the call is closed and client signifies interest, some people pick up the pace and then they pick up like things like closing agreements, ensuring like I'm following the back and forth of reviewing clauses and all that. That's part of what the sales operations team should do. And this I love entry-level roles in sales. Now let's look into how that morphs into more senior roles and typical time frames for this. Right. Oh, just before we go into that, how do you identify where you begin with as a new entrant into sales? If you're analytical, process oriented, I feel like I understand data, or you feel like you're more operations inclined, right? That would make you want to be more of a sales ops person than to be a BD or an SD, right? If you're a great communicator or you like pitching, of course, business development, sales development reps, jobs would be what you fit into. So it depends on where you think you fit into. Some people fit into everything and might just want to do one thing more than the other. And then if you're a strong negotiator and you have ownership mindset, you can go for it. You can talk to anybody, feel confident enough. You never have to feel confident enough, to be fair. I think over time in sales, you build your confidence from the first call to the first deal you close. And then after that, you just take off. Okay. So you can choose to be a sales or account exec in that sense. Right. It depends on your personality traits. Do you think I think it's more about what you think of yourself, right? And so for some people, they're all three. So I think it just depends on thinking about who you are, understanding what works best for you, and how you want to pace your career down the line. Now, going into like where you can move into as a salesperson, right? You can choose to move from inbound sales to outbound sales, right? And I'm going to say this like, okay, for example, as a business development rep, you're most likely doing all the prospecting, initial sales points, and you're just handing it over to the exec. Or in a typical organization who has everything wrapped into it, you're doing both inbound and outbound. But for the sake of this webinar, right, you can choose to move from being the person who just prospects to being actual person who speaks, closes the deal, and ensures go live, and basically bringing the money into the organization. Everyone contributes value in the long term, but you can also do it. There's also moving cross-functionally. You can, as a salesperson, you can move into any role. You can move into being a product manager, or you can go into marketing, or even into customer success, like I've seen here, or support. You can choose to become an account manager. Basically, everyone's an account manager and a salesperson together, right? But you can go into technical account management, support, client support, and those are just different fields you can move into as a salesperson over time, right? Now, what is the growth path, right? You start as an entry-level person, right? Be a sales rep, business development rep, and account executive. And then you morph into being a manager after about maybe 2 to 3 years. And then you can now advance into being a VP, a CEO. Doesn't have to be at the same organization, definitely. And then the beauty of being in sales is you can work anywhere, to be fair. You can work as anything because you build on those skills over time. Over time, you find yourself speaking in rooms, speaking with people you never expected to. And to be fair, based on kind of knowledge we gain over time, we are trusted more to handle organization, handle bigger teams, build companies, and grow into different other things. Can become a chief sales officer, can become a CEO. That's just the beauty of it. Sales doesn't just stop at being a salesperson. In the end, you might be owning a venture capital firm, and that's because you're a salesperson, right? And basically, it shows that sales doesn't stop somewhere. You grow, you morph. It's beautiful to see, to be fair. And basically, I think key thing to have at the back of your mind as a salesperson is you're never ever stuck, right? You can transition into being something else. You can move up the ladder. It's such a beautiful career path, to be fair. And to be fair, over time, the work actually just shows off. It shows off, to be fair. It shows for itself. And that's beauty about sales. Sales shows up and shows loud. Like your numbers speak. You speak for yourself. Everything just shines. And I think that's such an incredible thing to think about. Now, I'd like to think of this. Sales careers aren't linear, right? They're personalized. So as a salesperson, I for myself can say, oh, Abiola, today you're a sales and partnerships manager. I want you to own a tech company that does XYZ. Or you can say, oh, Abiola, you know a lot more about this field. How about starting your own firm that sells this product? Or you can go into another industry that you've worked so hard in and you know a lot of people in. Some people sell, I think some people sell to maybe like breweries and co. And then for some reason they've learned how to make the drink. And then like, maybe I'll just venture into this thing. I know a lot about it. I know the people that are going to buy from me. I know how the market works. And they end up building their company from there. Sales isn't a linear thing. Sales careers aren't linear. You think about yourself. You are the CEO of your own life, of your own career. So you have to personalize it into what you like, what you want. To be fair, as a person, it's all about what you want. Today, you can be a salesperson. Tomorrow, you can say, I don't want to be a salesperson. I want to be a CEO of my business. And you move from there, right? Your growth depends on how curious you are. When you're working with your clients, do you know more about their industry? I think it's good to know about a lot more industries because it helps you build your knowledge base over time. It gives you flexibility of moving into different industries you never knew about. You can end up being a salesperson for that your clients you pitched to 5 years ago, right? In their own different industry. So you might be in an industry today, and maybe manufacturing, and maybe you sold a product to the CEO of Google. In the end of the day, because of your own connection and how you sold to that person, kindly reach out to them and say, oh, I want to work XYZ. Or they can even be the ones to reach out to you, right? And they end up being a salesperson elsewhere or taking up another role. They can call you, oh, Abiola, I want you to come and build my company that's going to do XYZ. And because they know you have that experience and they trust you to do it, you get into it, right? It's about feedback. So I think you're in the right place. Like if you're in the TSPC community, places like this help you build relationships. If you're feeling stuck, you can always reach out to mentors here. I mean, it's a beautiful community. And the beauty about it is you network. You never know who knows somebody who can help you close out that deal. Right. And then also be adaptable. Be adaptable anywhere you are, everywhere you go. That's just beautiful. And then grow. Life is about growing. And ensure that your career is about you being personable and always take it to heart. It's about you. It's all about you. I don't have any more things to say. Thank you so much for your time today. Please, do you have any questions for me as we wrap up?
Thank you so much, Abiola. Does anyone have any? Okay, we have a question. Please go ahead.
All right. Hi, Abiola. Thank you so much for your presentation. I just was on your LinkedIn right now and I discovered that you are not in Nigeria. Am I correct?
Yes, you're correct.
All right. So I also recently moved out of the country, and my experience so far job hunting in another region is very different from what I was used to back home. So given your presentation about the types of roles you would expect to do in sales, how do those differ based on your experience in Europe and in Africa? Are they the same or are they different? And how has it been, or how was it like job hunting in different markets?
I would say it's not different. So I think as a salesperson, right, you quite see quite a lot about sales role. Sales is almost the same thing everywhere, right? Quite a number of things, of course, are different, but with the basics of what you know and what you've done, I mean, it's basically the same thing. Being in a new market just means it's a different playing field, right? As comfortable as you were probably in Nigeria, where you know XYZ people, this time around, you only know yourself. I would say to get into organizations, especially now in 2025, right? Don't just focus on sales roles, right? Yes, there are sales roles, there are account exec roles, account manager roles, sales and partnerships manager roles. But there are quite a number of other roles which I think salespeople can fit into, right? PM roles, like the sales process is actually a project management process, right? Business analytics roles. Of course, you looked at your numbers and then looked at your numbers, analyzed it, you forecasted where you're going to be by the end of the quarter. Those are skills which you've built over the end of time. There are lots of roles that you see the JD, and of course you know that, yes, I have this experience and I can do this. Getting a job is about showing them the value that you can bring to them, right? If you understand the JD and you feel like you can do it, apply for it. Now, another trick I would say is, in a new market, I think you should focus on building connections and relationships with people that work in organizations that you want to work in. So, for example, I see a job role and I want to work there. Right? Aside from applying through the website, some people may not even apply through the website. They'll probably just go on LinkedIn, just like you're prospecting, right? Find someone that works there, connect, say hello. It will shock you, and it will shock you that that person won't stop at giving you like a referral. A lot of organizations offer payment bonuses to their employees for referring clients who end up being hired, right? And a lot of people are looking to help people out, right? Reach out, ask them to do a referral, ask them about the place, ask them about the role. If they can refer it to someone that works on that particular role, it's also help you prepare for the interview process, right? It's not an easy thing navigating and entering into a new market as a salesperson, not just as a salesperson, as anybody, to be fair. You're in a new place, you don't know, you typically don't know anybody, to be fair. And this is something you just have to walk through and in the end get that job, right? But I hope I've been able to answer you effectively.
Yes, you have. Thank you so much.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Okay, so I think I have just one question. You mentioned that sales is a value-driven approach, but for someone that's new into sales, how do you actually identify or detect what the real value is for your clients that you want to prospect to, you want to sell to?
Mm-hmm. Right. I think it might be tough if you see that client as a bigger client, right? But I think it also starts by understanding what your product or whatever you're selling actually does, right? So, for example, if I was selling a maybe payments collection product, right? typical payment gateway API and all that. I will be looking at, for example, if I'm looking at a business, I will be saying, without payments, how does this company, I'm thinking about how does the company make their money? What would my API solve? If they already have an API-based partner that provides the service, what about that client are you better at? Is your product better at? Right? Determining that value is something you would most likely, you probably would have even heard from your other organization. Oh, our product has this compared to this. There are quite a number of resources to use, right? And understanding the value you provide to that client, right? So it's a value-based process. And you need to think about it from that end if you want to go through the sales process faster, to be fair. So basically, you think of this client. Client A. Client A has a software company. This software company is meant to, or let's say, they sell, maybe they have solar companies. This solar company, they're having issues with balancing their accounts. They'll use manual payment collections, XYZ. So you can approach this client to say, oh, my payments company can help you collect your payments real time. You don't have to do a lot of reconciliation. You can download from the website. That's value you're showing to that client. You can say, oh, with one API integration, you're in about 5 markets at once, compared to where you're just in Nigeria. So we can help you go global. That's value you're also telling that client about, right? So you need to actually do a deep dive into what exactly you're selling to bring out value. A lot of people just know it once and for all. In your initial onboarding the company, they'll probably also tell you the value of the product, right? But then for yourself, you need to also understand the product, use the product, see how it benefits you. And then you can now say, oh, this is the value I'm going to give this next person. If you don't believe in a product as a salesperson, I doubt you'll be able to sell it. I hope that helps.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much for this session. Thank you so much for being here. On this session, we saw the definition of sales, that it's a value-driven process. It's not all about selling or closing deals, but what value can you give to that client that you're prospecting, and what value will be received to. And then we went through the core principles of sales, from trust to listening, which is very important, listening to your clients to understand what they actually need. And we have empathy, and we went through some sales activities and concepts, and then some myths that people think about sales. Sales is not low impact, it drives direction. And then for people who are looking at what sales roles are there, we have from SDRs to BDRs, so account executive to sales operations. And something beautiful about sales that you get to work with different departments. And as Abiola says, that even teaches you some skills. From sales, you can go into product. From sales, you can go into marketing. From sales, you can go into customer experience. Because of that, personal connection or relationship you had with this department, you gain the skills in the process. So thank you so much, Abiola, for this session. I think on the group chats, I can drop her LinkedIn on the box. I can drop her LinkedIn. You want to reach out to her, and also if you want to join the Tech Sales Partnership community, the link is also there. Yes, let me do that now so that we can close. Does anyone else have anything to say? So we just automatically close for the day. Okay, I'll take that as a no. Wait 1 second. Yes. Okay. So I've dropped her LinkedIn. So if you want to reach out to her, you can connect with her. Thank you, everyone, and do have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you, Abiola, and thank you, Afama.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Yeah.